Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Small Bites. My name is Dr. Karen McDowell, and I am here with my colleague Monique Champagne, and we are talking about the Myers-Briggs today. This is Myers-Briggs Part 3. We've already talked about the first two letters in the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and now we're going to talk about the third letter. Small Bites is our weekly series where we talk about all kinds of different mental health topics. We post a video on YouTube every Monday morning, and then on Wednesdays at noon Central Time, we meet up on Instagram for a live chat, Small Bites Live, where we talk about the topic of the week and hear from you. We hear your comments, your questions, your ideas. We love having the chance to interact with you. So if you watch this video and you like this topic, join us on Wednesday for our Small Bites Live. We're talking about the third letter in the Myers-Briggs type. The first letter, I or E, had to do with how we recharge our batteries or how we refill our energy. The second letter, N or S, has to do with how we take in information. And the third letter, what we're talking about today, is T or F, and that has to do with how we make decisions. So again, one of my favorite things about the Myers-Briggs is that it's entirely strength-focused. In no way does this assessment try to say what's wrong with you or something you need to fix. It's just telling us information about how we function in the world, and it can help us understand ourselves better, and it can help us understand the people around us better. So again, on a spectrum from T to F, with T being thinking and F being feeling. So right off the bat, I want to tell you that this does not mean that you either can think or you can feel. Everyone thinks and feels. This specifically has to do with how you make decisions. What information are you going to base your decisions on? In the last video, we talked about N or S, intuitive gathering of information or sensory gathering of information. But once you've gathered your information, you got to make decisions. So people who are more on the T side of things are going to tend to make their decisions based on facts. They're going to make decisions based on logic, based on what makes sense, based on what lines up, what fits. That's how they're going to make decisions. On the F side of things, people are going to make decisions based on how it feels to make that decision, how it's going to impact people, what their sense or their ideas about how the decision should be made. That's going to influence decision making a lot more than facts or information. Just like with the other pairs that we've talked about, these can seem really incongruent. These can seem really opposite, really paradoxical, difficult to align if you're operating from one side or the other. And I want to remind you, just like with those other ones, that everybody moves on this spectrum. People can move and make more feelings-based decisions. People can shift and make decisions that are more thoughtful or logical rather than basing them on feelings. But most people have a preference or a tendency, and that's what the Myers-Briggs looks for. Again, you're the expert on you, so you don't have to take the test to know, you just have to understand yourself. So thinkers sometimes are known as fact over tact. So when a thinker has to make a decision or say something or let people know a major decision, or when they're engaging, they're going to prioritize factual information. So they're not going to sugarcoat things as much. They're not going to try to make the news sound not as bad as it is. They're going to say the facts are more important than me being tactful. So fact over tact, thinkers are going to say, this is the deal, there it is. On the F side of things, feelers are going to put tact over fact. This does not mean that feelers are liars. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how somebody is going to go about making a decision. So if you have to tell somebody something difficult, how are you going to do that? Are you going to do that fact over tact? Or are you going to do that tact over fact? So an F person is probably going to be more likely to try to soften the information, try to attend to how that person is feeling. They're going to worry about how somebody might experience that situation. They'll be more attuned to that and more aware of that. So they're going to prioritize tact over the basic facts and logic. So like I've said in the previous videos, people ask me all the time, can this type be in a relationship with this type and it work out? And the answer is, I don't know. Yeah, probably. It has less to do with who's congruent with who and more to do with how much do you understand about those things. So let's take the example of a couple and one person tends to be a thinker and one person tends to be a feeler. If both people hold their stance and I will only communicate in facts and I will only communicate in feelings, make decisions in those ways, it's not going to work out, right? And it's not because of your personality type, it's because of your inflexibility. But rather, if the T in the relationship can say, oh, I get it. I get what being an F means. I get how that is a way of making decisions and looking at things. And if the F person can say, I see how this other person is leaning on factual information and how that feels like an important way of making decisions, then one, you still have that mutuality, a recognized difference, but you're on the same page. But also, you can change how you communicate. I myself am a T, kind of heavy on the T side. So I have learned over time that it doesn't always go well for me if I just bluntly say the thing that I have to say. Other T's might hear it and be like, yeah, cool, got it. But F's are probably going to experience that in a less than pleasant way. And I could be a jerk and be like, well, then too bad for them. Or I can say, I'm a human, I'm a strategic communicator, I want to connect with all kinds of people. So I'm going to be mindful of my T-ness and I'm going to sprinkle on some F-ness so that I make sure I'm inclusive of everyone. So coming back to this hypothetical couple where one is a T and one is an F, if one person in the couple has to say, oh my gosh, you are making me so frustrated because you never clean your socks up off of the floor, they might know, okay, I don't need to just bluntly say that. Instead, I'm going to decide to say, hey, here's how I feel about this. Can I engage you? That you might use a different communication tactic knowing there's an F. On the opposite side, if the F person came to the T partner and says, oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings and I'm going to sugarcoat it and I'm going to tiptoe around it, but I need you to pick up your socks because it's really frustrating, but I'm going to, because they're worried about hurting that person's feelings, that might be very frustrating to the T person. The T person might be like, just tell me the thing you have to say. So somebody who's strong on the F side might say, okay, I'm going to not sugarcoat this because I know my partner is a T and this is how they're going to accept this information. So I'm just going to say it straight out. So we adjust the ways that we communicate based on what we know about ourselves and the people that we're communicating with. Now, different environments are going to reward different things. Think about environments like in accounting industries or in legal industries. Those kinds of areas or arenas are going to be very T-based, right? It's going to be very fact and logic-based. But when you go into maybe more creative or artistic areas, or you're working with people who have that kind of less structured or less rigid kind of framework, F might be a lot more valued and rewarded in those environments. But that doesn't mean that the other one doesn't have something to offer to those environments. So making sure when you're working in groups or when you're engaging with communities or organizations that you're enlisting all types of people, thinkers and feelers, and including their viewpoints, not valuing one over the other. So those are my thoughts on thinking and feeling. Again, please join us on Wednesday at 12 Central to talk more about this. You can find us at thegraciousmind.com. So many things on our website. We have a badass gift shop. Everything you buy on our gift shop helps support the work we do, and it's free shipping. So win, 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 win. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitter. We are on TikTok. We are on anything else? I don't know. Google us. You'll find us. The Gracious Mind. We'll see you next time on Small Bites.